Everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photography photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts, and I do my best to edit them using DxO Photolab 9. We're up to Photolab 9.2, and this is not in any way going to be a critique of any of your images. The idea is primarily to show you my workflow for editing photos and the tools that I use in DxO Photolab 9, which is my preferred editor of choice. Many of you are regulars here, so I really appreciate that. And if you're new to the stream, let me know in the chat section. It's always nice to meet new viewers and followers to my channel. And with that said, I think I only have 7 images today, so it's not too bad. We should be able to get through them pretty quickly. I'll try and think out loud my thought process, uh, and thoughts about the composition, and we'll go ahead and get started. So let me just rearrange my windows a bit. Okay, very good. Good morning. Oh, Kevin is here. How are you, Kevin? It's been a while. And Paul, sorry about the confusion on the timing. Somehow I put 9 p.m. instead of 9 a.m. Ah, not paying attention, but okay. Let me check one more thing. Let me know that the audio and video is good. Everything looks okay on my end here, although the audio seems a little bit soft. Let me see if I can turn it up a little bit. I don't know why. Okay, here's that. I'm gonna turn it up. Wow, that's pretty. Okay, so let me know how the audio is now. That's pretty high. I don't normally have it set that high, but it seems like the audio is a little bit low. So I'll leave it at this level until someone says otherwise. But let's go to the screen and we'll start here. One from Mickey. Okay, so we have looks like a female mallard and pretty straightforward. And also let me know about the video quality because I'm trying to improve the video quality. And when I did that, I messed up the audio somehow. Okay. So what I like to do basically is I'll start with the basic preset, which is the DxO optical correction and also the deep prime noise reduction and a few other things like chromatic aberrations and things. These are sort of signature tools in DxO, the optical corrections and the deep prime. And I think it's the main reason that I get the very best results from DxO versus, say, any other photo editor I've ever used. Um, the one thing I still haven't fixed this preset. Uh, let's see. It's in here. So we're going to apply that preset and I'm going to fix it right now if I haven't already. Well, this is a JPEG, so I don't need to do anything here. So optical corrections and denoising don't really apply to JPEGs because JPEGs are kind of already baked, but I can do a little bit of sharpening. So let me just do just a tiny bit there. So the audio is still soft and muffled. All right, let me check. Yeah, okay. I see the problem. Let me try this. All right, how's audio now? Hopefully that's better. Okay, so I'm going to talk at this audio level for a little bit and then let me know how this works. All right, so I'm doing a little bit of sharpening, and I'm using an unsharp mask, adjusting the intensity and radius until it looks about right. I don't want to do too much, otherwise it'll start to look a little crispy. And then I'll just add a little bit of threshold. Just zoom in a little bit more, right about there. So I like the threshold to be roughly, uh, 10 times the radius. So I have a 1.1 radius, so threshold of like 11 is a good starting point, and then I can adjust from there. Generally, on a very clean image, threshold being about 10 times the radius seems to work pretty consistently. And what I'm looking for is that I'm not over sharpening, say, the more smooth areas, like in this case, the background and the beak. So I'll turn that unsharp mask on, and then I'll turn it on. And I think that looks pretty good. I'll just back off the intensity a bit so it's not too crispy. And I usually like the intensity to be about 1.5 times the um, radius. So the radius is kind of the most important slider here. And then the other two, I just try to just eyeball it to roughly, 100 times or 10 times. So the intensity at 170, maybe 150, 160 looks about right. So that's what, 150 times the radius, and then down here the threshold is 10 times. I mean, don't overthink the math too much. Just you'll get a feel for it. But I think that looks about right. Yeah, that feels a lot better. Okay, so with birds and animals, I think the composition is fine. It looks good. Uh, so I'm not going to do anything there. The horizon, there's nothing to worry about there. So I'm just going to go right to, uh, with birds, typically it's eyes, beaks, and talons. In this case, we have an eye and a beak, and the feet are down underwater, so we don't have to worry about that. But the eyes, I like to make sure if there's any color or anything that I can bring out. And I just use control points. And I'll do some clear view and micro contrast just to give it a little bit of gloss, a little bit of shininess. And I don't mind if the control point goes outside the eye a little bit. And then a lot of times on the beak, I can use the same control point. Um, but I don't think I will this time because the beak doesn't need really any brightening. So what I'm going to do is make a new control point separately for the beak. And in this case, I'll do some clear view and micro contrast, but I'm going to add a little vibrancy just to bring out the color a little bit. Okay, very good. So the audio sounds good now. All right. Let me know if it can be better.
I'll try and tweak something, but if it sounds pretty good now, we'll leave it there. All right, so that looks good. And then I think, oh, that looks a little strong, doesn't it? I don't want the eyes to be too buggy and I don't want the beak to be too shiny. So let me go back and just make an adjustment here. I think I'll just back off some of the vibrancy. And then on the eye, I'm going to back off just the brightness a little bit. Oh, there's one on the beak here. That's why. All right. All right, that looks a little more natural. All right, now the water is really strong here in the frame, so I'm going to darken that. I'll just use a control line. Actually, I think the AI tool would work well here, so let's do that. I'm going to use the AI tool, and let's just try with the pointer. Yep, there we go. And the pointer is this tool right here. Um, let's see if we can just tone it down by pulling in the blacks a bit. And I try to maintain a straight line on these sliders just so it looks more natural. Let's try some clear view. And the image is a little bit cool, so I'm going to try and warm it up now. I normally like to hit the white balance first, but just add a little bit of warmth. And then let's add a little bit of, let's try smart lighting. Okay, that didn't do much. So we'll just push the exposure up in a linear fashion. Maybe about a quarter stop. I'm gonna go back to the duck. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this mask and invert it. No, that's not good. Let's delete that. Let's make a new one. And I'm just gonna select the duck and just give the duck a little more brightness and a little more vibrancy. And then we'll just add a little vignette and we're done. So we'll make a new control point here, spread that out, invert it, turn the chroma and luma to 0. And then let's just pull the blacks first and then the shadows. Okay. I think I might crop just a little bit, but let me go back to the water. The water needs maybe a little more color. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe shift it a tiny bit. Not that much, just a hair, right about there. All right, let's just do it side by side. There's no need to export this because it was just a JPEG already. But there's the before and after, and I think that came out pretty good. Let's do a split view, and yeah, look at that. That looks really good. So we're going to. What I might do is just add a little bit of noise reduction because my sharpening seemed to bring in a little bit of grain here. So let's do that. Uh, so what we have is basically the standard noise reduction, nothing fancy. So let me see how that did. Yeah, that's better. As opposed to 0. Yeah, I think right in there. And now we're done. Yeah, that came out pretty good. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And I see a little arrow here. which means there's a DxO optics module I can download. So this is a camera lens combination that I haven't used yet. Also an XZ1. Wow. Classic. Classic. That's the old Olympus CCD sensor. I think it's 10 or 12 megapixels. All right, so for this one, um, let's see. Let's do a basic preset since this is a raw file. Ooh, nice. That sharpened it up very nicely, I think. And then really all I have to do, I think, for this shot, the composition is fine. Maybe go 5 by 4, but let's see if we can uh, accentuate the colors and the reflection. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm just going to brighten this up and see what else is in here. Oh, I like the smoke in here. So again, this is very subjective, what I choose to include in the image. So I'm going to try and get some of the smoke in here a little bit and see if the horizon is fairly straight. I think we're okay. It feels a little bit off because the reflection's crooked in this direction, but I think we're okay. So let's um, let's go back to the local adjustments and let me try some control points. So I'm going to select the brightest points of the fireworks. And I'm going to reduce the luma a bit because I want it to brighten kind of, not brighten, but I'm sorry, but maybe temper the highlights a bit, just kind of across the board. And then maybe give a little vibrancy to bring out some of the colors. And then let's expand up here. And maybe, yeah, let's just push the midtones and shadows a bit. And I'm just going to do a linear push and a little more vibrancy. All right, that looks good. And then I'm going to, like I said, I kind of like the smoke. A little bit did come through, but I'm going to try and bring a little bit more in. So I'm just going to put a control point on one of the smoky areas. We're going to tighten up the luma mask quite a bit. So I just get the smoke. And then let's just try a linear push on the exposure. Maybe if I move it out a bit, try over here. There we go. And maybe a touch of clear view. How about on this side? All right, good. Now let's work on the water. So we'll make a new mask. I'm going to use a control line. And I might move the dropper. Let's see. Gets right in there. It's good. Give it a little vibrancy. And then let's cool it off a bit. Where are we at? Let's go down to about 33, maybe 34. Give it a little more saturation. And I'm going to push the exposure and just see what else. Yeah, we don't need anything else in there. I'll just push the exposure a tiny bit. Okay, and then one last thing I want to check is the sky. Sometimes there's clouds in the sky, but yeah, it looks like it was a pitch black night. So No clouds or stars to bring out. I'm going to go ahead and export this. Hey, Jeff, good to see you. So go ahead and upload an image. I only have 7 right now, so I can do 8, no problem. All right, so let's do a quick comparison. Oops, it hasn't finished exporting yet. Okay, let's check again. All right, very good. Reset this. All right, so here's the edited image. Very subtle change, really, when you look at it sort of from a global perspective. But if I zoom in, and we'll do a split view on this one. That's the original, and here is the edited image. So you can see how much detail that the optics module was able to bring in on these fireworks. 'Cause you can see how soft this is over here. And also I enriched the colors a little bit and brought the highlights down. But I wanted to bring in also the kind of the smoky flavor down there too as well. So I think that came out great. Okay. Go ahead and upload Paul. That way I don't have to go into the email and download it that way. Okay, let's do the next one. So very nice. Okay, here we have a foresty scene, and I'm going to apply a basic preset here. And composition wise, let's see, we have some nice red tones down here and all the greens and yellows up in here. So I'm going to see, and then there's some blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this image a lot darker and moodier and try and enhance and bring out the reds and greens and then use the yellows as the highlights. I think that's what I'm going to do. The overall balance and composition of the scene, it's all about this log laying here. So I don't know if I really need this tree. I think I can work with just the foreground here, this grass and this tree, and then I can minimize kind of everything else. So let me try a wide 16 by 9. And that should give that log a little bit longer, feel to it. Oh, I don't like cutting off the left side that much though. Let me see. Maybe if I keep a little bit of that tree. Yeah, that frames it pretty nicely. Okay, I'm going to look at one more composition and see if a vertical makes any sense. No, I think the original 16 by 9 looked best. Okay, so let me darken the scene just manually just to see where I can go and the dynamic range overall. Okay, then I'm going to warm it up a bit. Yeah, quite a bit. I really want the highlights to be very, very warm yellows. You need any magenta? Not much, just a hair. All right, let me go back over. So normally I like to go right to local adjustments, but when I make dramatic changes to the exposure, whether it's because the initial image was not exposed properly or I want to make dramatic changes to the exposure, I'll actually work on the global settings over here rather than the local adjustments up here. So I'm going to pull the blacks in and the shadows. Let me bring this up just to give a little bit more range to the scene. Okay, we're kind of getting there. This is still a bit bright up in here though. Okay, let's start with that. Now let's go back to local adjustments. And down in here, I mentioned I saw some nice reds in here. So let's see if we can bring some of that back. Wonder if I can shift it a little bit. Just a tiny shift to red. And then let's try a new mask. And I'm going to use a brush and just kind of highlight in this area where the grass was. Our flow is 39%, so I'm going to just keep brushing in until I get to about what I want. A little bit in here. And let's work on this log a bit. Yeah, I might have to come back to that. Okay. All right, let's work on this log a tiny bit. So I'm going to make a new mask, but I'm going to maintain using a brush. Let's give it a little more. Okay. I think that's good. Maybe a little bit on this tree. And then some on the leaves up here. A little bit here. Okay. Get a little brightness down in here. Okay, let me go back to the color. I'm going to cool it off just a bit. I'm going to do a different brush. I want some cooler colors in there. Maybe in the water where this muddy area. I'm just going to cool that off. Give it a little clear view. Okay. And continue pushing the light in this muddy area. A little bit of a stump there or something. Okay. All right. I'm gonna pull this in a little bit more. And then let's do a couple of spots like this. And add a little more warmth. A spot here. A little bit there. A little bit on this grass. A little bit back here in the tree areas. Or foresty. A little bit more there. Okay, then the last thing, let's make a new mask. I need to temper the highlights here a bit. So let's do a little tighter luma and just bring the highlights in. Okay. All right, let me go back to the global. Okay, before and after here. We need okay. I'll call it there. All right, so here's the original on the right, and this is my edit on the left. So again, I wanted to just sort of make it a little bit more moody. I could have softened the image a little bit, maybe with a soft focus. That might have looked all right. Let me try that real quick. Let's go over here. Yeah, let's go to we don't have to use soft focus. I can just pull the micro contrast back and the main contrast. Okay, there we go. We'll do that. Wait for that to finish. There we go. And let's do a side by side. All right, so yeah, I think that looks better. I might have overdid it with the softening, but let's do a slider view. So there's the before. It's a little bit harsh, the lighting. So I just wanted to soften the light. I overdid it slightly, but ultimately, I think the darker, moodier scene is kind of the way to go. Uh, Maybe just pull it in. Well, I'm not pulling in the right one, but you kind of get the idea here, right? And make it warmer and cooler at the same time. Okay. Very good. Let's go to the next one. And, oh, wow. Looks like a cheetah up here. That's pretty cool. Let's apply basic preset. And let me think about the composition. I feel like I need to tilt it left a little bit. Ah, this is such a cool shot. I don't want to crop too much because I like this whole scene. Maybe just crop out that bottom left corner. Okay, good. And then let's see if I can select that tiger, or not tiger, but it looks like a cheetah. And I'm going to brighten him up, give him some vibrancy, saturation. And then let's make a new mask. I'm going to select him again, but this time I'm going to invert it and just kind of, pull everything in. Okay, good. Let me go back to the tiger. That looks good. And we're going to throw in some spots of warm light as well. Let's do that. Uh, let's try a control point. And we'll tighten up the luma just a bit. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of warmth here, just to give it more of a, on this bush. I'll do that separately. Okay. Let me go back to these global settings. Oops, whoops. Okay. I think I do want to tilt this a bit. And then we'll have to crop in a tiny bit. Okay, I'm just checking the original. Uh, okay, let me just push the exposure a tiny bit up. And then we'll hit a few spots with a new control point to darken some areas. And I'm going to use very tight lumas. All right. So the tiger, what did I do here? I didn't add any warmth, but I need to temper. Just temper the brightness a bit. He's standing out a bit too much. Then let's go back and brighten the image. The loop just feels a little bit too crispy. Oh, I think it's because I didn't reset this. There we go. There we go. That's better. I need to fix my lens optimization here. Okay, let's make these greens maybe a little bit greener. Maybe I can do that with just a vibrant. No. Stick to natural. I mean, these greens are very strong yellows. Let's pull this back and shift it a little bit green. Hmm. Maybe it just needs a little saturation. And then the white balance, I'm going to just cool it a tiny bit. Then maybe just a little bit of a vignette around the tiger. Let me invert that. Maybe a little bit of cooling too. Okay, I'm going to call it there. Let's export that. And give that 15 or 20 seconds to export. Okay, we're good. We'll do a side by side. All right, so clearly it's just bringing in contrast, right? And a little bit of warmth. I think that's all this image needed. And then a slight crop to pull in. The rocks down here weren't terrible, but I just wanted to get a little bit closer in. but not too much. I wanted to maintain the environment that the leopard is in. So let's do a slider and see how we did with the fine detail. Gosh, we're cropping in 140% here, but yeah, I think the contrast works. Okay. Um, Paul thinks this triangle is pulling his eye in. Maybe a little, but I like the depth of, because without that little piece uh, up here, I assume you mean this little triangle. I think we kind of miss the depth and height that this leopard is sitting. So I wanted to maintain that information because I don't think it's too well represented. Well, yeah, it's represented here, right, with this, but because I cropped in, I lost that sort of depth here. So I wanted to maintain that. Maybe not the best choice. Maybe cropping more over to the right would have been better to maintain this right side. So just to experiment a bit, let me try a different crop. If I cropped more like this, do I maintain? No, doesn't maintain that. If I cropped over on this side, this maintains that depth that I like. So that's just as good a crop, I think, as the previous one. I would be happy with that as well. But yeah, I see your point about that. But I think cropping that out, I kind of like how far away that is relative to where this leopard is. Okay. Uh, oh, that was your image, X Meta from the XZ1. That's cool. All right. Let's do next one here. We'll apply basic preset. Let me fix this. This needs to be 150. And then I'm going to save this preset and overwrite my default. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see what we can do here. Oh, this is cool. Wow, I wonder how they did all the wiring and everything to get the lighting in here. Okay, we need a little bit of a horizon straightening, I think. If I do this perspective, and then tilt it like that. Okay, that looks good. We pull the brightness in. And then we'll use local adjustments to kind of bring everything back in. We'll do something separate for the water. Okay. Let's try. Yeah, no, I think about one stop under. Let's do, I think composition wise, I didn't even think about that. Let me do that first. Maybe just come in. Mm, okay. And try and bring in some of the foreground. All right. I'll probably do the same thing up here. Let's try. Right. This crop is just not quite right. If I do front and center, I kind of like it a little bit off. And this, not sure what to do here. I think I'm going to call it there. Okay, so I think I think vertical works better because the horse is, standing up. Uh, but other than that, I didn't do much. Just made the reflections a little stronger with the reds, and um, and then darkened the background a tiny bit. But I did want to maintain some of the foreground, so that was it. I think that's all that needed to be done. That's the original. And there's the edit. Very, very minor edit, relatively speaking. Okay. Boy, that was a tough one, William. All right, here's one from Anthony. Let's go ahead and apply basic preset. And I think the composition's pretty good. Maybe just a little bit tighter. A tiny bit of straightening. A little bit tighter. Okay, that feels about right. Okay, let's pull in the exposure because it's a little bit overexposed overall. And we'll do some local adjustments to the eyes and beak. There's not much color left there. Up there, a little bit there and there. And then let's brighten up the shadow area. Just try linear push. Go back to the eye and pull that back a little bit. This needs some micro. Okay. Now let's see if we can temper. Well, let's select the bird overall. Try the AI thing there. Select that. Some brightness, a little bit of warmth, and micro contrast. And then let's select the background. Let's just pull this in a bit. Okay. I'm going to temper these speculars back here with just a healing brush. So let's do opacity. More feathering. Okay, that's good. And then we'll add a vignette, and I think we're done. So invert that. Let me see if I can temper the highlights on the face a little bit. I don't think so. They're probably clipped. No, not actually not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, good. I think we need a little more warmth on the bird. And then just a slight push. A little bit in the midtones and highlights. Okay. I think overall it's a little bit off. Okay, one more highlight to fix. Maybe this one. Not much I can do there. Okay. All right, let's export that. Let me look at my loop. I think we can bring out a little more sharpening here. So I'm going to try just the optical. Yeah, that's better. How about the background? Yeah, we're okay there. Okay, let's export that. Okay, we'll compare a side by side. So I think exposure-wise, did a really good job considering this is a single shot. I noticed you dialed in about a third of a stop exposure comp to the positive to try to maintain some of the shadow detail in here. So that was an excellent choice exposure-wise. Uh, I would have probably dialed in maybe even a little more and not worry about clipping the highlights over here. Uh, but overall, I think, overall it was a really good shot in composition. All we had to do is just bring out the eyes and beak on the bird there. And of course, you can see DxO did a really good job at doing that, right? So yeah, very nice image overall. Okay, with a slight crop, just to make the bird a little bigger in the frame. All right, let's see. We got one here from Paul. And let's apply a preset first. See if we can fix some of the distortion. Not much. So these buildings are like, oh, this is crooked. Driving me nuts. But also there's a little bit of perspective distortion. Like the camera's tilted up slightly, it feels like. So let's just try the perspective tool. Okay, that helps. What the heck is wrong with this building? Why are the windows and things crooked? Wow, looks like I just don't understand this architecture right here. Like this window's really weird compared to this one. But okay. Let's try a little smart lighting. Okay, not bad. And then composition wise, I don't think there's anything to keep in the sky, but let's see. Yeah, there's actually quite a bit there. So I'm exaggerating, of course, but let's just bring some of it in. And temperature wise, let me give it a little warmth. And then let's see if we can bring up some of the shadows. We'll just use a control line. And we'll tighten the luma just a tiny bit. Or give a little clear viewing contrast. Maybe some vibrancy. Pull this back a little bit. Uh, let's work on the windows. I'm still thinking about doing some cropping or something, but let me just work on the overall image first. I don't normally do that. I normally like to do composition first, but um, this image is just okay. We'll give it some brightening, contrast. Okay. All right. So let me see where we're at. Mm. So I don't think we need this much in the foreground. I like the leaves over here. Let's try 5 by 4. And just come up. And I don't think we need that building. Oh, let me see. I like this guy sitting at a table having a coffee or whatever. So I don't know if we really need. And there's an opening. Okay. Maybe right in here. Mm. At the same time, it's really interesting these weird windows. So just keep that guy down there. I think that's it. So now we have all the information I care about. Got this weirdo window. We got this dude down here. And then we got this little shop here. But the contrast is something is off with the color. Yeah, maybe I overdid it with the white balance. Let me add some contrast. Okay. And I'm going to do a little spot of light right over here, like that. A little bit of contrast. And we'll call it there. Okay, John, you submitted one too. That's fine. I'll I'll try and do as many as I can. All right, so here's the before and after. Uh, so this whole building here on the right that I cropped out is not bad, except it also includes the sign. So ultimately, I decided this isn't really needed at all. And then, for the exposure, I used the control line to brighten the shadows just down in the lower area. And I think that's all it needed. And then, of course, another control line to bring the sky in. Or actually, I used the AI select on that. And just enough so you could see some of the details. So let's do a slider. And the only other thing I might do differently is throw in a little more micro contrast on the brickwork here. But I think overall, this vertical, there's too much in the foreground that doesn't do anything and too much sky. The most interesting part is right in here with these crooked buildings and this guy sitting there. Okay, so I think uh I think that's the edit I would do, except like I said, a little more work on the bricks. I think that's if I go back and do this again, I would work on the bricks a little more. Okay, let me check the emails and the downloads and see, because you guys said you have some stuff coming in. Oh wow, a bunch came in. Let's see what we can do. I'm gonna download them all. Oops, oops, oops. Okay, save. And let's extract all of those. Okay. And then over here, all right, let's see what came in. So there's that. We did that. Okay, there's a new one from Mickey. I feel like I did one from Mickey already. It's Michael. Yeah, Mickey or X Meta. I guess we'll do that one next week. um, we'll do that one next week. And then this one's from John. Okay. So let's do a basic preset. And let me try the perspective correction. That's good. Let's come in a little bit tighter. Just center this, because this ship is facing the right. This one's coming into the left. So it's a little bit awkward. But we'll come in right about there. Okay, I think that framing is a little better. And then we'll go over to the lighting panel. Wow, it's really bright up here. Uh, okay, let's use a control line. See if we can temper that a little bit. And let's warm it up a bit. Let me try just a tool. Okay, that came out to about what I did anyway. Uh, let's try and temper some of the highlights and accentuate some of the colors. So I'm going to make a new mask with control points on some of the highlights. I don't know if I need that much, about that. And then let's accentuate some of the color. Uh, there's a little bit of a peach pale color there, some red there. Tighten up the chroma mask. A little bit of red line down here. I don't think I can get that. I'll have to work on that separately. And there's a tiny bit of browns and yellows here. Let me come back to those. Let me just work with these kind of reddish colors. I just want to get a couple of accents in there. Something like that. Okay. And then you need a little bit more light on these whites. Let's tighten up the luma again. I want that to be brighter. Let's add a little bit of definition in here. Maybe a little more saturation. Okay, and then do these portholes. I'll just use a brush. Maybe a little bit on the name. All right, let's work on this little boat in the front. So push the shadows a bit. Maybe the vibrancy. Okay. This needs a little bit more. Oh, not that much. Okay, good. Uh, let's see if we can temper the highlights here on the water. So I'm going to select the water using the AI tool. And let's pull off the temperature a bit. All right. Okay, up here, let's let's come in a little bit lower and just temper the brightness up here. And then we'll come back in with a couple of control points. And just give it a little spot of warmth. And some warmth. Not there. Whoops. Maybe a small spot there. A little bit more here. A little bit of a pull. What does it look like? I think the buildings need a separate one, so we'll do the buildings separately. Uh, Buildings might need just a little bit of a highlight push and some clear view. A little bit in midtones too. Okay. And then the red roofs here, I'm just going to bring out the color a little bit. So let me tighten up the chroma mask. I think that's red. That's a gray. Okay, I think that's it. So let's export that. Oh, hey, Lauren. Lauren is here, and Moxie. Good to see you. And Anthony's dropped in. I just finished your picture. Uh, and then I'm looking at DxO Photolab includes Pure Raw. Yes, that is correct. Well, specifically, it includes Deep Prime, which is what Pure Raw is. Okay, I think that works. So let's do a comparison. Okay, so uh, just a little straightening and crop. We didn't need that much sky. Lauren says he would have got rid of the modern buildings too, but uh, I didn't want to remove all of the context of this scene. And lots of contrast and highlighting, like I said, I wanted to bring out some of the accent colors here on this ship because it's otherwise pretty monochromatic. And that's about it. And then the trees back here have some nice light on them, but they're kind of hazy. So I just exaggerated that over here, and that's it. So let's see. But I think that came out pretty good. Uh, let's see. And then we have one here from Jeff. This is his lovely wife. All right, so let's do a basic preset. And let's do a 5:4 crop and just come in a little bit. Oh, maybe center. Yeah, I like the center on the nose. And I think perspective-wise, we're okay. Maybe a slight, let's try just a little perspective tool there. And we'll go with that. And then we will, this is a really strong warm light. I don't understand where this light is coming from behind her. It's almost like you got a spotlight behind her. Oh, because it's it just looks a little off. This light right here behind her, like there's a spotlight, because it like a halogen lamp is right on her back. That's what it looks like to me. Okay. Uh, so what I need to do is sort of match the white balance of this right side here to the to this spot lamp and under her shoulder. Okay. All right. I think that works. All right. Let's see if I can temper the highlights now and then bring back. So I think these are all clipped, but let's see, we can do, yeah, this is clipped. So just as this is all natural sunlight, gosh, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. It looks like there's a spotlight right on her. So it's a good thing you captured this because that's really unusual. But all right, yeah, the hair here is all clipped, and this is clipped, and that's clipped. So what's the brightest? I'll bring this to about there. And then we'll try and bring in the foreground. And we probably need to cool it off a tiny bit. Let's do just a tiny bit there. Ooh, the hair here is, let me see. Yeah, I gotta be careful with this control point. It's messing up the hair. Okay, let's fix the eyes. About there. Tighten up the luma just a hair. Okay. And then take a brush, just a little bit there. Just a little bit of adjustment on the teeth. Okay. Oh, I mean, just adjust that slightly. Okay. Oh, this is tough. Okay, let's brighten these back up. Sorry, I keep getting. All right, let me see where we're at. Okay, so we need to do a little bit on the hair and the face. Let me brighten this back up a little bit. Yeah, I need a new control point right here. And a little bit tighter. Mm. And then last thing I'll do is I'm going to try and temper the highlights a bit, if that's at all possible. I think that's it, because these are basically all clipped. And I'm going to try and just, I need, I need the light to look a little more natural, because it looks so artificial the way it is. Okay, I think I'll call it there. A little bit tighter down here. And let's just pull a little bit of reds out. I think it was this, no, this one. Go here. Actually, if I just select the portrait, yeah, there we go. The portrait color profile pulls out some of the excessive red that sometimes you get in people's faces, or like especially my face, but I'm seeing a little bit here. And then we'll just pull that back a little bit. All right, let's export that. And Lauren says maybe monochrome. Maybe monochrome would be interesting. Ooh, not quite. I'd have to do a lot of work on the eyes. Let's see how the color did. I'd have to work on the eyes a little bit. Uh, so what we need is I think we just need a little bit. Okay, I need to make a couple of little corrections. Um, the eye here, right here, here and here. Just going to Desaturate the red, orange area a bit. And then this, we need to just accentuate a little bit. I'm not sure if your wife has green or blue eyes, but they look green here. Right. If she has blue eyes, I'd have to correct for that, but they look like they're green. But that could be any number of things. All right, let me export this. And maybe kind of like Lauren's idea of cropping out the background a little more. Let's try that. Okay, we're almost done. All right, so yeah, this light over here is wow, I just don't understand how the sunlight is so warm here and then this is so cool on the right. I just don't see that very often. It just looks like there's sun, looks like a spotlight right behind her. But anyhow, I think that came out okay. Uh, yeah, Lauren's idea of just cropping out this background here was a good idea. I don't know if that's the bathroom or whatever, but just coming in right here helps quite a bit. I think that looks pretty good. Um, and we did pretty decent job. I don't like to go in very close when it comes to people, but I'll just do a little slider action and we'll do that. All right. Uh, let's see. We got one here and a little bit of horizon correction, but let's apply basic preset. Gonna tilt this. And let's do a 16 by 9. Let's try that. Wish we had a little more wiggle room here on the right side, but okay. And let's just let's just bring in the front a little bit clearer. So some clear view and some contrast. Make it a little warmer. And then I don't know if I can select just the water. Yeah. All right. We'll do that. We'll cool that off a tiny bit. And just give that a little bit of contrast. And then I'll make the boat stand out a bit. So select that. God, the AI tool is like really killing it today. Just give the boat a little bit stand out a little bit. Okay. Only other thing I might consider is a black and white. Mm, maybe cool it off a bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit. I think it looks good as a black and white too. But we'll stay with color. I think that's all this image needs. So I'll export that. So yeah, 16 by 9 crop, a little bit of straightening, and some brightening of the boat itself. And that's it. Very nice image. I liked a little more room on the right here, but overall, that yeah. So let me go in, and I could have maybe just squeezed out a tiny bit more detail, but a scene like this is not, you don't really need it. I think uh the way it is fine. Yeah. So there's the final edit. Okay. Uh that's it, I think. So there was one, oh, there's one here. Michael, Michael, I almost missed this one. So let's apply basic preset. I think this is X meta, right? Um, 'Cause I did the fireworks. This one I was gonna do, I think I'll do this one next week too. Uh, Mickey Stein, Michael. That's all right. I'll just do this one. Let's see. So we did the preset. Let's do another 16 by 9. Actually, I think super wide will work on this. Let's do 65 by 24. Let's straighten that out a bit more. Try and put that house in the center. Okay. And then let me select the water and just give it some clear view. Pull in the blacks a little bit. Cool it off a tiny bit. Let's select the sky. Same idea here. Some clear view, a slight pull, and some micro contrast. Then let's add a little light to the house like that. Maybe a little warmth. And then let's go to the colors. Let me try vivid, vibrant. Yeah, vibrant looks good. Let's add a little bit of a vignette. Oops. I think this other house, I could use a little bit of light too. That had a warmth. Okay. Okay, in the front, let's see if I can just, I need something. Let me select the yellows and tighten up the luma. Okay. Put a slight push. Okay, and then a couple of spots of light in the top. Maybe right there. All right. I think that's it. So let me export that. And compare it, reset. All right, so there's the original, and that's my edit there. So there's the original with all of this going on, which, makes sense. I mean, a wide angle lens, you're going to capture a lot of top and bottom. So I just crop it out super wide. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then Lawrence says center is the interest, 8x10 vertical. Interesting. If you're talking about this picture, I don't see it, but maybe. Uh, let's try that would be 5x4 vertical. So maybe a little bit less foreground right there. That works too. Actually, that's a nice crop. So I like that one too. Okay. So one I saved for next week, and I think that's all of them. Oh, what's this? Mickey. Mickey. I feel like Mickey Stein. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do that next week. So we will do that one next week. This one I've done. I think there was a comparison. Oh, here's one. This one, wanted to compare that with my edit, right? I think that's my edit there. That doesn't look like my edit. That's a little bit, that's my edit. Oh, I exported it to a different folder. So let me re-export my edit. Yeah, that was a good recommendation, Lauren, on the cropping. Okay, so this was my edit. We'll set this as the reference, and then Paul's edit is here. Me. It's virtually identical. Is that right? Hold on. Yeah, I'm just comparing my image to myself here. Hold on. All right. So Paul's edit is much warmer. This has a more vintage feel to it. And I like your crop a little better too. I eliminated this, but this little downspout's kind of interesting too. It's got some details to it. Hmm. But overall, it's almost an identical crop, other than you kept this part, which is interesting. I think it frames this building a little better. But I don't know why mine is so yellow. It's just a white balance thing, I guess. And then your black and white, oh, it's pretty much the same thing. A little bit different crop, but nice editing on the black and white. So the house is a cream color. Okay. I mean, if I look at the original and reset it, that I think I think my edit maintained the color a little bit more naturally. See, here's the raw, here's mine. So I think mine is a little bit more accurate color-wise. And then yours is really like a mustard color. But that mustard color is kind of carried over the entire image, right? You can see it in the leaves and everything. Oh yeah, and he brought the clouds out a little more than I did. Yeah, definitely. Because mine, I brought the clouds in a little bit, but I didn't do much. Uh, Not like Paul. Paul really brought them in. But see, the clouds come in here, I think matches the editing everywhere else. I feel like if I brought my clouds in that much, it wouldn't look natural. So I try to keep it natural looking over here. But yeah, okay, Paul. Nice. I like your black and white edit better overall. Okay, I think we'll call it. So thanks everyone for joining me today and sending your images in. It's always fun to edit your images. Hopefully you picked up a few ideas. I know I always learn or get some ideas from your images as I'm editing them. And I'll be back again next week for more photo editing. And if you'd like to take advantage of the Black Friday sale, you get an extra 5% off if you use my coupon code and my link. So you have to use my link and then use my coupon code. Then I'll get credit. Um, and I think it works for both upgrades and for new customers. Like if you haven't registered with DxO before, You should get the Black Friday deal either way, but I think my coupon, I don't know, just throw everything at it, right? Click on my link, grab my coupon code, and get the best deal you can. So uh, I will be back on Sunday, God willing. Maybe a little bit late though on Sunday, and um, we'll talk about normal photography stuff. But as always, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for sending the pictures in. Eat healthy, exercise, and I hope to see you again soon.